Welcome to Tesla Daily News Podcast for Saturday, December 27th, 2025. Today we're tracking three big stock moving themes for Tesla: a fresh U.S. safety probe into the Model 3, the latest reality check on robotaxi timelines versus Wall Street expectations, and how Tesla's charging network keeps turning into a profit engine as more brands plug in. Let's get into it. Story 1. The NHTSA just opened a new defect investigation into the Model 3, and it's about getting out of the car in an emergency. Here's the context. For investors, safety investigations matter for three reasons. They can trigger recalls and costs, they can create negative headlines that hit sentiment, and in the worst case, they can lead to design changes that ripple across future vehicles. The details. CNBC reports the U.S. Auto Safety Agency's Office of Defects Investigation has opened a probe covering an estimated 179,000 model year 2022 Model 3 vehicles. The concern is that emergency door release controls may not be easily accessible, which is specifically relevant when there's a crash scenario or power loss and people need to exit quickly. Impact on Tesla. At the investigation stage, this is not yet a recall. But investors should treat it as a real risk flag because it's tied to occupant egress and usability under stress, which regulators take seriously. If this escalates to a recall or required remedy, Tesla could face direct costs per vehicle, plus service load, plus reputational drag. The bigger market question is whether regulators push Tesla toward more standardized, intuitive mechanical releases, which could affect design choices across the lineup. Takeaway. Watch for two things: whether NHTSA upgrades from investigation to formal recall actions, and whether Tesla responds with a software prompt, labeling changes, or a hardware retrofit. Any move from probe to mandatory remedy is when the stock typically reacts more sharply. Story 2. Robotaxi is still the biggest valuation story in Tesla stock, and the reporting is getting more skeptical about roadreadiness. Hook. Tesla robotaxis remain huge on Wall Street, but the real-world rollout pace is the part under the microscope. Context. A meaningful chunk of Tesla's multiple is tied to autonomy. If the market believes Tesla is close to large-scale, driverless monetization, you can justify a higher forward valuation. If timelines slip or deployments look constrained, the multiple can compress fast. Details. A widely circulated report summarized by outlets like the Economic Times, citing the New York Times framing, says Tesla is facing hurdles in its push toward driverless taxis and is competing against Waymo, which has a larger operating footprint and more city experience. Separate coverage and chatter also reference Tesla testing in Austin, with claims and counterclaims about the true scope of those efforts. Impact on Tesla. Here's the investor lens. The bullish case is that Tesla's camera-first approach, fleet data, and rapid software iteration could still deliver a step change. The cautious case is that driverless operations require more than just a good neural net. You need validated safety performance, geofenced operational design domains, remote assistance playbooks, and regulatory comfort. So the near-term stock implication is not about taxi revenue next quarter. It's about narrative control. Tesla tends to rally when autonomy milestones feel imminent and sell off when the story shifts to promises versus proof. Takeaway. If you're trading Tesla around autonomy headlines, focus on evidence: where it operates, under what constraints, how many vehicles, and what safety driver or remote oversight exists. Broad claims move the stock, but verified deployments are what sustain the re-rating. Story 3. Tesla's Supercharger network keeps turning competitors into customers, and that's a quieter but very real business lever. Hook. More non-Tesla drivers are learning the Tesla charging experience, and that matters for both revenue and ecosystem power. Context. For years, Tesla's charging network was mainly a Tesla owner benefit and a demand catalyst for Tesla vehicles. Now it's evolving into something closer to infrastructure as a service, and it can generate high-margin revenue while also shaping industry standards around the North American charging standard. Details. BMW-focused coverage highlights practical steps for mini owners charging at Tesla Superchargers, including using an NCS adapter, app setup, and payment. While that article is consumer-oriented, the investor read-through is strategic. Every additional brand that plugs into Superchargers increases utilization, expands Tesla's addressable charging revenue, and deepens the lock-in of Tesla's connector and software workflows. Impact on Tesla. Higher station utilization improves returns on the existing Supercharger asset base. And if Tesla continues to manage uptime and user experience better than peers, it strengthens Tesla's role as the default fast-charging network. That can support both energy-adjacent revenue and brand halo, even for non-Tesla drivers. Takeaway. Watch utilization and expansion pace. The market will care more about charging when it shows up as consistently growing services revenue and improving gross margin stability, especially during periods when vehicle margins are under pressure. Story 4. Tesla's brand narrative is getting a refresh, and investors shouldn't dismiss it as fluff. Hook. Elon Musk is tweaking Tesla's mission language, and that signals how Tesla wants to be valued. Context. Tesla is simultaneously an automaker, a software platform, an energy company, and an AI company. The words leadership chooses can be a tell about which story they're leaning on when markets get choppy. Details. Multiple outlets reported Musk posted on X that he's changing Tesla's mission wording from sustainable abundance to amazing abundance, framing it as more joyful. Impact on Tesla. This isn't going to move earnings, but it can influence positioning. Sustainable tends to anchor Tesla in the EV and climate policy box, where subsidies, regulation, and competition can dominate the narrative. Amazing leans more toward aspirational tech and AI, which is where higher multiples live. Takeaway. Pay attention to whether this language shift comes with concrete product or platform messaging, robotaxi milestones, Optimus progress, energy storage scale, or new manufacturing targets. Words matter most when they foreshadow capital allocation and roadmap emphasis. Story 5. Competition in robotics is heating up, and it's a reminder that Optimus won't be a one-player game. Hook. Humanoid robotics is becoming crowded fast, and that affects how investors should think about Tesla's optionality. Context. Many Tesla bulls assign meaningful option value to Optimus. That's reasonable if Tesla can manufacture at scale, control costs, and deliver useful labor automation. But if competitors move quickly, pricing power and timelines could compress. Details. International reporting highlights Chinese humanoid robot company Agibot planning a short-term rental service for robots, including pricing that implies real commercial experimentation rather than just demos. While this isn't Tesla-specific, it's important context. The market is shifting from prototypes to business models. Impact on Tesla. Competition doesn't kill the thesis, but it changes the question from can Tesla build a robot to can Tesla deliver one that is cheaper, safer, and more capable than dozens of rivals at scale. That's a manufacturing and supply chain challenge as much as an AI challenge. Takeaway. When you hear Optimus updates, ask, what's the unit economics, what tasks are proven in the real world, and what's the scaling plan? Investors will reward traction, not theatrical demos. Let's wrap it up. Today's big Tesla themes were rising regulatory scrutiny around emergency egress in the Model 3, an ongoing tug-of-war between robotaxi hype and road-level evidence, and the Supercharger network quietly expanding Tesla's revenue and influence as more brands adopt NHTSA. For tomorrow, keep an eye on any follow-up from NHTSA on the scope of the Model 3 investigation and any credible, verifiable updates on Tesla's Austin robotaxi testing scale and operating constraints. If you got value from this episode, subscribe to Tesla Daily News Podcast and follow for your daily, investor-focused Tesla Roundup.